I've always been into gymnastics. Because it's fun. And because it's just you and your body. You practice, you get better. It's controllable. Not like life.
Our episode begins with Rachel and her father getting ready for a hiking trip. In a funny little moment, Rachel's dad comments on her vanity as she picks out clothes, only to immediately check his hair in the mirror. I don't know why, I'm always drawn to cute little moments like that. However, when Rachel's dad opens the door, he gets tackled by controllers.
No, let him go! Let him go! Let him go!
No, let him go, or I'll harm you. Well, this whole thing turns out to be a nightmare. I think we pretty much have to admit to ourselves that we're never going to get the Xena warrior princess version of Rachel, when she can't even find the means to fight the Yeerks in her own dreams. The next morning, Rachel's dad shows up for real this time and tells her that he's moving very, very far away for a news anchor job and wants to bring Rachel along.
I've talked this over with your mom, and she thinks it's a wonderful opportunity for you.
Where is Mom anyway? Now, my parents aren't divorced, so I can't say with total accuracy, but it seems to me that when you're proposing completely changing your daughter's life, that both parents should probably be present for that kind of conversation. Rachel's dad tries to sweeten the pot by saying that he can get Rachel a place as a student to fictional gymnastics star Karla Belnikov. How he pulled this off, I haven't the faintest idea. Do news anchors have a lot of clout in the Annie TV universe? Or is it like that movie Taken, where Liam Neeson only managed to get her daughter singing lessons from a famous pop star because he saved her life? I can just imagine Rachel's dad pulling fictional gymnastics star Karla Belnikov out of a raging river and then going, "So I have this daughter." Well, the choice falls on Rachel. Does she stay and fight the Yeerks, or leave it all behind to start a new life with fictional gymnastics star Karla Belnikov? Well, on the one hand, the Yeerks have been totally ineffective in their invasion of the planet, and the Animorphs haven't needed to do any heavy lifting to stop them. In fact, Rachel has been absent through a handful of missions, so they don't even really need her. On the other hand, if Rachel actually made an effort, they might be able to crush the Yeerks once and for all.
I wouldn't have to listen to any more of Marco's bad jokes.
Right. Fictional gymnastics star Karla Belnikov it is. As a personal aside, I like the Smashing Pumpkins more often than I don't, but as a solo artist, I think James E.A. is one of the blandest, least interesting musicians out there, and the fact that Rachel has a poster of him in her room perfectly reflects her completely neutered character. We cut to Yeerk Labs, where Dr. Milf is subbing for Dr. Weenie.
The disc we recovered from Alfanger's crash site? You recovered from the crash site.
No one found it at the crash site. Jake dropped it in the Yeerk pool, remember? Dr. Milf explains that Alfangor's disc seems to respond to Andalite DNA, so Visitor 3 tries touching it, only to get his ass torn back for his effort. Dr. Milf theorizes that the disc must be programmed to a specific Andalite DNA, which would have been the first thing I assumed in a universe with both mind-controlling aliens and morphing. So Visitor 3 is even more determined to catch himself one of those Andalite bandits. So the Animorphs are getting together in the woods, where Rachel monologues about the futility of their efforts against the Yeerks. I don't know, if you had a gun, just one gun, the Yeerks would probably turn tail and run to Betelgeuse or something. As if to confirm their total worthlessness, the very next shot is Axe getting captured with fucking lassos. This has got to be one of the most magnificent low points in the series' history. Oh, let me count the ways this is stupid. First off, how did the Yeerks find Axe? I know Visit 3 ordered them to systematically search the entire city, but for them to find Axe so quickly, I don't even know what to make of it. Either Axe picked a really shitty spot in the woods to call home, or the Animorphs are having this meeting in a fairly accessible place to the public. In which case, why on earth is Axe in Andalite form? What dumb luck for the Yeerks to find a lone Andalite on their first go, and they even had lassos ready. Which brings me to, why are the Yeerks using lassos? If they have a line of sight and the element of surprise on Axe, why don't they just hit him with a Drakon beam set to stun? Or hell, set to kill, since that mode can't even kill a bird. A kill shot on Axe would probably feel like someone bouncing a basketball off his ass. Using lassos gives Axe the chance to fight back. And lassos are an entirely human invention, so did the Yeerks infest a bunch of cowboys for this mission? Or do they train their foot soldiers in lasso handling? Is there a crack lasso squad in the Yeerk armada? Despite having to construct Andalite puppets and costumes, it's clear that the people behind the show have no concept of Andalite anatomy. First off, Andalite stalk eyes, which can see in 360 degrees, make them impossible to sneak up upon without invisibility unless the Andalite is focusing all of his attention on one task. Here, Axe is waiting patiently by a stream. His eyes should naturally be wandering all over the place. Otherwise, what are they there for? The Yeerks should never have gotten within lasso range, even with the cover of the woods. And then there's that pesky Andalite tailblade. We saw Visit 3 use his to slice an entire statue in half, so we know they're sharp in the TV version, so what the hell is stopping Axe from just cutting these ropes off? The Yeerks can't assess the situation for crap! How do they know this Andalite is alone? They're stupid enough to charge in without seeing if there are other animals around that might be morphed Andalites. Because, guess what? Tobias is there! And the Yeerks don't even seem to realize it. The Yeerks could be the easiest ambush victims ever if the Animorphs ever got their heads in the game. Oh, and the one Hork-Bajir is there. I don't know. He's there for surprise butt sex or something. Yeah, the Yeerks are stupid enough to break out their one lizard monster in what appears to be a pretty publicly accessible bit of the woods, but to their credit, Axe was stupid enough to demorph there. Tobias warns the rest of the Animorphs of the Yeerk ambush, so they all run off to save Axe. They find Axe, I'm not really sure what's going on here, but surprise butt sex is becoming a much more likely option. He's unguarded, so clearly it's a trap, so the Animorphs morph something small and... Oh, no, wait, they just walk in as humans and hope for the best. You deserve to be lassoed.
Over this way.
You sure you got the directions straight?
I'm sure, Marco.
This is part of that crappy Animorphs blocking, since at first it seems like they have perfect line of sight on the Andalite, but are now kind of wandering around, not sure where to go. The Animorphs hit a tripwire and a net trap falls on them. When the hell did the Yeerks have time to set that up? Did the Yeerks actually spot Axe hours ago and have been laying booby traps all over the woods? Well, apparently there's only this one trap that covers this very small area. Seeing as how the Animorphs could have approached the Andalite in any direction, the Yeerks were damn lucky they went this way. Anyway, the Andalite turns out to be Visit 3, using himself as bait. He morphs human for no good reason, and gloats at his captured Andalite bandits. I don't know why he automatically thinks they're Andalites. This area of the woods has hiking trails and stuff, so as far as he knows, he just nabbed a handful of kids on a nature stroll who happened to see a weird blue horse and decided to check it out. Well, the Animorphs are boned, but before the Yeerks can go in for the kill, time freezes, the net disappears, Tobias shows up as a human, oh hey Christopher Ralph, and then the Ellimist shows up. Now I'd make the obvious joke, but the show ends up making it for me.
We're almost out for the count till Obi-Wan here shows up and gives us a freebie.
The Ellimist is played by Peter Meslin, who you may not recognize by sight, but you might have heard his voice if you're a Doctor Who fan.
They are loyal to the Dalek. No one can succeed who opposes the Daleks.
Peter's performance as the Ellimist here is really the episode's only saving grace. He adds a lot of gravity to the role as he bears the burden of giving these 5 teenagers a terrible choice. Keep fighting the Yeerks, which they will surely lose, or allow the Ellimist to transplant them to another planet along with their relatives. All of them Yeerk-free, Tobias returned to the form of a human, Axe going back to the Andalites, and all that jazz. Now, Peter really sells the situation the best he can. He really seems like he's carrying a lot of weight on his shoulders by doing this. But all of this is trumped by the fact that the TV show Yeerks have been totally, undeniably pathetic.
The Yeerks are technologically superior to you. They'll continue to infest the human race.
Yes, such amazing technology like lassos. I mean, let's count what they've used thus far, shall we? 1 spaceship, laser guns that look like flashlights and can't kill a bird on the kill setting, a few digging tools to make a base that's half the size of a Walmart, vaporizing security doors that wait 10 seconds before vaporizing you. Really, the most impressive technological thing they've done thus far is hack into all the computers at the cyber cafe, and they nearly blew their cover by doing it. There's no sign of any Yeerk activity happening outside of this one little city. In 12 episodes, the Yeerks haven't accomplished anything. Well, the Animorphs can't decide which option to take, so the Ellimist takes them into the future to see the fate of the human race. In the future, all cameras will have piss filters over their lenses. Wow, the future sure does suck. Looks like the Yeerks totally kicked the Earth's ass. Nope, not buying it. You could take a picture of a gerbil sitting on top of a beat-up corpse, but you'd never convince anyone that the gerbil killed the guy. Same thing applies here. You could show me the TV Yeerks in control of a conquered world, but you can't convince me that they're the ones who conquered it. No, what I think happened was that the Ellimist saw how much he misjudged the Yeerks' powers, so he hooked up with a few of his old Dalek buddies and they gave the planet a one-over. Kind of like pre-cutting a meal for a small child. The Animorphs are able to identify some external Yeerk pools and a giant-ass Kandrona built on top of what was once the EGS tower, or whatever that is. Then, BAM! Visor 3 and a bunch of controllers are standing right there next to him. Did the Ellimist take away the Animorphs' peripheral vision? Visor 3 brings out a future Rachel, a controller, and one of the Visor's best warriors, as can be seen by the knife strapped to her belt. Because when you've completely conquered the planet, you need a knife strapped to your belt. Future Rachel gloats and past Rachel fumes until she finally breaks and grabs the knife with intent to stab Visor 3. Whoa there, Nellie. You almost started getting to book Rachel territory. We can't have any of that. The Ellimist brings everyone back to the present. Now, in the book, this had the effect of making everyone agree with the Ellimist save our human deal, which the Ellimist then simply ignored. But in the TV version, this does the exact opposite. They all agree to stay and fight, so the Ellimist returns things back to the way they were, with the Animorphs trapped in a net, only with one difference. Rachel still has the knife from the future. So the Animorphs cut themselves out and make a run for it. Tobias pretty much taking on the entire team of controllers single-handedly. Kandronas? Why the hell is he yelling Kandrona? I think the writers might have gotten the word Drakon and Kandrona mixed up. Rachel and Marco find the unconscious Axe in the back of a truck, completely unguarded because that's just how the TV Yeerks roll. Marco tries to get the truck started, but the Yeerks didn't leave the keys in the ignition, which I'm officially classifying as a twist. However, they did leave their car in neutral, so when Marco pops the parking brake, it starts to roll downhill. No, really, I'll watch this scene 6 times. Marco didn't shift the gear himself. The Yeerks were that stupid. Marco crashes the truck, and the Yeerks close in, but Rachel morphs lion. She doesn't attack them, she just stands there and roars, and that causes every single Yeerk in the area to turn tail and run. Guys, you're all carrying flashlights. Laser beams come out of those things, you know? Or did you accidentally swap out your Drakon beams with normal flashlights? Because that seems like something you'd do. So Rachel reads Dracula for no apparent reason, tells her dad she won't be going with him, and then she chats it up with Marco for a little bit. Who cares? It's finally over! Post-episode follow-up. This episode gets worse every time I watch it. It's dumb enough on its own, and it's only made worse in the context with the rest of the series, as it puts a proper magnifying glass on one of the show's biggest problems, the complete lack of threats from its villains. I've commented on the ineptitude of the Yeerks over this series, but it's only so much worse here. They finally rip out that last little bit of dignity the TV Yeerks had. From lassos to stupid traps to leaving cars in neutral to not shooting the enemy standing right in front of you, it leaves you wondering why you should even care about this conflict at all. Even Visor 3 is more campy than usual. But even if you fixed all that, though, there wasn't enough time spent on what really mattered, namely the Ellimist's proposal, the Animorphs witnessing their own failure to save the planet, and their group conflict in making the ultimate decision to give up and save themselves versus staying the fight and lose. Not to mention Rachel's personal story concerning her dad. I complained in my last review about the lack of Rachel-based episodes, but when you do get them, we see that the people behind the show really stripped her of the elements that made Rachel from the book so interesting. And this story really should have been a two-parter. Have the first part focus on Rachel's personal issues, and have the cliffhanger be the Ellimist showing up, and then spend the majority of the second part in the future Yeerk-controlled Earth. The short time we're there in this episode doesn't really drive home what the Animorphs stand to lose. The only really good thing this episode has going for it is Peter Messlin as the Ellimist. He gives his character far more depth than the people behind the show probably required of him. But besides that, there's nothing here I can really recommend. I give The Stranger a 2 out of 10.
I'd never had hawk before, but even roasted you were tough and stringy until I added barbecue sauce.